Recently, I made kind of a short video talking a bit about New Jeans and my opinion on their current situation. However, besides it being missing a lot of things and being more of a personal rant from me, it flopped so fucking much that anyone would actually notice if I deleted it. So, this video will be much more elaborated, a bit longer, better edited, and will cover many more topics. This script will be long. And when I say it will cover many more topics, I'm being extremely serious because it will range from accusations of plagiarism to discussions about concept, the new jeans fandom, Min Heejin, and so on. So, please, like this video and subscribe to the channel. Everything in it is done by me and only by me. The scripts, the designs, the editing, absolutely everything is just me. And I would be very happy if you could help me grow and reach more people. And I also want to thank everyone in advance who is always here with me, supporting and encouraging me. It means a lot to me, truly. Now, heading to the first topic. I don't want to be the kind of fan who likes to measure how much of a fan other people are and thinks they're better than others for following a group since their debut, but it's a fact that only those who witnessed the Super Real Me era know how it was a fucking hell. There were shots fired from all sides, and it was genuinely unbearable. I dare say that Alice's debut was a collective trauma for Glitz, so much that we don't usually talk about it. It's a kind of a sensitive topic. But when did the first accusations actually begin? Well, even before Magnetic was released, there were already comments on Twitter posts from people saying they thought it was new jeans, that everything was extremely similar, etc. Now, what I have to say about it. I mentioned this recently in a post in my community, but I doubt many people saw it, so I'll say it again. Recently, I discovered a Bunnies channel because of a video of hers discussing her perspective and opinion on the Illit plagiarism case appeared in my recommendations. I was curious. I didn't realize at first that she was a fan of New Jeans, but as the video went on, it became obvious. I'm not going to be ignorant and say she was directly attacking Illit because no, she wasn't. But let's get to my actual criticism. Why do you keep talking about something you know isn't going anywhere? The video was posted literally days ago, and this person has over 20,000 subscribers. It's not hard to find. I'm not going to mention anyone's name here, so don't expect it. But if you search, you'll probably find it. In the video, she discusses similarities between some of the choreographies from Illit and some of the choreography from New Jeans, and we're gonna talk about this in a minute. Hold on. Arguing that there were too many coincidences and that this should be addressed. Okay, this question I'm about to ask is genuine, I swear. Are you stupid or just pretending to be? Repeating a million times in your video that the criticism is directed at a company and not at Illit will not change the impact of your video. We all know very well that this speech was the main cause of the hate train that Illit suffered on Paul their debut. And to continue talking about it, even though a whole year has passed, even though the court has already proven that there was no plagiarism, is cynical, is tone deaf. You know what you're doing, and there is no point in pretending you don't. This need to prove a point that anyone with even a modicum of decency already knows is a lie is idiotic. It's even manipulative, in a way. You want people to keep talking about it. You don't want them to forget. You don't want Illit to lose this stain on their reputation. You don't want them to lose this image of being a quote-unquote copy, a New Jeans 2.0. Because this narrative strengthens your arguments. It gives ammunition to the weapons you love to shoot, even if they use silencers. Now, let's talk about the alleged copied choreographies and understand where these accusations come from. The first one I remember at the time was about when the Lucky Girl Syndrome music video was released, that movement of rubbing your palms together in the air. Well, the concept of wanting to claim a dance move as the property of a specific group is ridiculous in itself, but let's be patient and explain everything properly. A choreographer from New Jeans made a post demanding that Hype give her credit in a specific video, I think, and expressed frustration, saying she felt robbed and copied and blah blah blah. Well, it turns out that this dance move has already been used many times by other groups, long before New Jeans ever dreamed of dancing it. You can search and you'll find it. Lisa's Money, Ice One, Slavian Rose, and several others. I prefer to believe that Min Heejin's entire team, before she was fired, of course, probably had a collective neuron deficiency, because comforts my weak mind thirsty for, believe it or not, logic and concrete explanations. Other claims about similarities between the choreographies of these groups have been made besides Lucky Girl Syndrome's one, stating that some of Eilit's dance moves resemble some from Attention, Ditto, Oh My God, etc. I'll leave two on the screen, the one from Attention and the one from Ditto. Well, in fact, the dances are similar, but here's my question. Did the New Jeans choreographers create these movements? Were they the first to use them in the story of K-pop? I don't think so. And even going back to the argument that one or two similarities are not a problem, but several of them are suspicious. While making my research for this video, I found a really good video from Everglow Up's channel. It's a great channel and I recommend it to all of you. Cheryl is truly amazing. In the video titled, New Jeans is not that original and Ilit's not plagiarizing them, at the minute 4.15, she mentions finding several similarities between the choreographies of New Jeans and Weekly, which, if you don't know, was a fourth generation group that sadly is no longer with us. Anyway, all credit for this information goes to Cheryl because I would never known this if it weren't for her. Again, I recommend you to watch her video for yourselves, but in short, several of Ditto and Oh My God moves were similar to moves from After School and Holiday Party. Several indeed. So, following that logic, did New Jeans plagiarize Weekly? Can you see that by reversing the roles, this narrative is stupid? Dance moves are not owned by anyone. These are reused, recycled, and remastered all the time, and many of these moments even come from Western music and also from Black culture. So, trying to claim dance moves and pointing out plagiarism based on that is incoherent, meaningless, and pathetic. It's like saying that TXT plagiarized Genshin Impact because in love language, when they do that hand gesture when they bring their thumb, ring finger, and middle together, leave the index and pinky fingers out, commonly referred as the fox sign or the fox window, Kitsune no Yubiwa. It is a significant gesture with a dual meaning rooted in Japanese folklore and pop culture, because Yamiko also makes that gesture in some animations in the game. Do you understand how pathetic that is? Do you understand now? Damn, I'll never get tired of saying this. Also, the humbug photos, the billboard thing, oh fuck, give me a break. A lot of different groups have made that before New Jeans. Way before. ITZY, BTS for the, billboard thing, and the peeking from a wood thing in a hanbok. Lily from Nmix also did that before. So, yeah. Since their debut, New Jeans have been presented as a group heavily inspired by the aesthetics of the 2000s, the Y2K aesthetic. Nostalgia, vintage elements, vibrant and bold colors. Meanwhile, Eilit's concept is presented as a dreamlike aesthetic, magical, ethereal elements, soft, neutral, muted, and pastel colors, and also a touch of strangeness. I won't talk much about Eilit's concept now, as the next topic will be completely focused on explaining Eilit's concept, at least from my point of view as a glit who is here since the very beginning, and by the way, this will be, I think, the longest topic in this video. Well, I can't really see any striking similarities in the concepts of both groups. It seems to me that K-pop stans have this collective problem of thinking that similarity is equivalent to copy, because I've seen several fandoms fighting about this, not just Glitz and Bunnies. An example of real copying that I can give y'all is the case of Yeonjun's gum figure, which was indeed copied by Believed in Sunghoon's merchandise. This will be discussed further later, but I won't go into too much detail because I don't want people to think that I'm directing this at Sunghoon or anything like that. But calm, fresh concepts, flowy choreography, and smooth beats aren't exclusive to New Jeans. If that's the case, then groups like Racine, Hearts to Hearts, and even Kiki are also a copy of New Jeans? Give me a break. Furthermore, since I mentioned Racine, I think their concept is similar to Illit's, and I've never seen any glit accusing Racine of copying anything. Interesting. By the way, Racine has a flawless discography. I recommend you to check it out. Continuing, I think the concept of both groups is quite different, since vibrant colors and references to the 2000s are not characteristics of Illit. They lean more towards something enchanting, a magical girl core. If you ever watched Sailor Moon, you've definitely noticed a certain resemblance. Okay, now let's talk about Eilit's concept and the identity they've been building since their debut. Since Magnetic already had some solid foundations for what the references for their concept could be, the ones that hit me the hardest at the beginning were liminal spaces and dreamcore. Strange spaces, that bizarre feeling of familiarity, as if you've been there before. To simplify it for you, the definition of liminal space is transitional or quote unquote in between places like hallways, airports, or empty parking lots that are meant for passage rather than a destination. They often evoke a sense of unease, nostalgia, or eeriness because they're familiar yet out of their typical context, leading to feelings of being suspended between what was and what's next. This concept can also be applied to mental or emotional states during periods of transition. They can feel settling because they are often empty, abandoned, or viewed outside of their normal context. Nostalgic. They can sometimes evoke a sense of familiarity, like a childhood memory or a deserted playground. Thresholds. The word liminal comes from the Latin limen, meaning threshold. Uncertainty. They represent a state of waiting and not knowing what comes next, a precipice of something new. To give you even more context, I'll explain a little about the uncanny valley, which is also very much part of Illit's concept. And by the way, I won't be letting any uncanny valley related images in the screen because when I searched for them, they were like way too disturbing and scary, and I don't want anyone to be uncomfortable while watching me, so yeah. The uncanny valley is a phenomenon where a near-human, lifelike figure, like a robot or CGI character, evokes a sense of unease or revulsion instead of affinity. This feeling occurs because the subtle imperfections in the figure's appearance or movement clash with our expectations of human behavior, creating a sense of cognitive dissonance. The effect is named for the valley on a graph that shows a drop in emotional response as human likeness increases, just before it becomes indistinguishable for a real human. Doppelganger stuff, basically. If you ever heard of Mandela Catalog, you know what I'm talking about. If you're not a fan of horror subgenres like me, you probably don't know what analog horror is, but I'll explain, and I swear I'm not dodging the topic. Everything I'm saying will connect and make sense in the end of this topic. Analog horror is a subgenre of horror fiction commonly characterized by low-fidelity graphics, cryptic messages, few to no traditional jump scares, and visual styles reminiscent of the late 20th century television and analog recordings, such as VHS and FM radio. Medias like The Boiled One, Vita Carnis, Gemini Home Entertainment, and so on are examples of analog horrors. Okay, but why the hell did I explain so much weird stuff when we were just talking about Illit's concept? Well, that's because all of that can be found, even subtly, in the aesthetics of this group. Everything except analog horror. So, why did I talk about it then? Because if you do a search on YouTube, countless channels by very talented editors have already made analog horrors of Illit since the Super Yumi era. I'd like to specifically mention the Light of a Dying Star channel, which makes various videos of this type about several K-pop groups. If you enjoy this kind of stuff, you definitely love this channel. And the reason there's so much horror-related media surrounding Illit is because there's so much material for it. The feeling that something's wrong, a strange feeling, a cute aesthetic with something eerie behind it. All of this builds Illit's concept. Mix cuteness, Sailor Moon, backrooms, and dreamcore, and you get this as a result. I've seen many people say that Illit doesn't have a dreamcore concept because dreamcore has vibrant colors and much more exaggerated strange details, but I'll break this argument right now. Dreamcore is a surreal internet aesthetic that uses visuals from dreams, daydreams, and nightmares to create a nostalgic and uncanny atmosphere. It blends familiar imagery with strange, dreamlike elements like fuzzy 3D visuals, pastel colors, and liminal spaces, and can evoke feelings of both comfort and unease. Dreamcore is often confused with the related but more unsettling weirdcore aesthetic. This definition already explains the confusion. With the dreamcore concept, it's unavoidable that Illit does have weirdcore elements too, as these two aesthetics are related, but they're not the same. This more exaggerated and unsettling aesthetic y'all are talking about is weirdcore, not dreamcore. Something that makes the concept of Illit even more interesting is the correlation between dreamcore and the dreamy aesthetic, and no, these two aren't the same thing. I like dreamcore, which focuses on mixing the familiar with the strange and evoking feelings of comfort and unease. The dreamy aesthetic refers to a style characterized by its ethereal, surreal, and often nostalgic qualities, creating a sense of wonder and escape. It uses elements like soft or hazy lighting, pastel or soft colors, and a mix of surreal and comforting imagery to evoke a feeling similar to a dream. Key components include natural light, whimsical and fantasy-inspired themes, and often a surreal, disorienting, or comforting blend of familiar and strange. These elements are easily found in Ilit's music videos, such as Magnetic. I think that of all of them so far, this one has the most elements of the dreamy aesthetic. Well, it's a really detailed, complex, and well-executed concept, and it's genuinely sad that people are so ignorant as to reduce it to a copy, when that's not true. One group that I would say has a similar concept to Illit in its essence is Red Velvet. Yes, Red Velvet. I'm not crazy. I'm definitely not talking about the velvet concept, but rather the red concept, which is the more fun, colorful, and crazy side of Red Velvet. If you want to understand more about this comparison, I recommend watching the music video for Russian Roulette. It's easy to understand why I relate these two concepts if you watch it, but in case you're feeling lazy, the Russian Roulette MV basically shows the members trying to kill each other, throwing cabinets downstairs, or pushing a hospital stretcher into the middle of a street to be run over. All this with a cute, fun song playing in the background and a music video full of vibrant and strong colors. See the similarity? Me too. It's undeniable that the overwhelming majority of bunnies are still on Min Heejin's side, and honestly, that doesn't surprise me. I understand feeling bad about seeing your group's career crumbling, but defending a woman who has done so much wrong at this point is almost equivalent to encouraging a victim to stay in an abusive relationship. We literally have everything we need to say that nothing that comes out of Min Heejin's mouth is reliable. She tried to illegally take a door away from Hype, such as by selling shares, etc. She manipulated public opinion and fueled fan wars that generated massive hate trains on Illit, and that's literally proven. We have screenshots of it. Conversations of her orchestrating a plan to destroy Ilit's career. Numerous lies involving not only Illit, but also the Seraphine, with all that talk about her being promised that New Jeans will be the first girl group to debut on Hype, but the promise was broken because of the Seraphine's debut, which was fake. She was under Source Music when this was quote-unquote promised, and she used this just to create a victim narrative. This woman, whom you all claim is the only person who protects and cares about New Jeans, has been using them as a shield since the beginning of this legal battle. All of her actions were justified in the name of protecting New Jeans when she didn't give a damn about those girls. She literally created a new company recently and is planning to launch a new group, and yes, it's a girl group. While you all humiliate yourselves, defending her and justifying her actions, she's already working on replacing New Jeans when one of the following two things happens. Either New Jeans returns to Hype with all 5 girls, or only he and Harry stay and the others will have their contracts broken. Honestly, the first option is the most likely, and I wouldn't be surprised if it happens. So, stop being stupid. Stop falling for this woman's manipulation. Stop believing the lies she told in court, pretending she cares about New Jeans and that she doesn't want it to harm Illit. She did. Unlike New Jeans, with all those accusations, we have proof of this. And mind you, Illit wasn't the only group she wanted to harm. Several groups from inside and outside Hype were involved in this mess. Even if just a little, but they were. And also, did you know she sexually assaulted a person who was part of her staff and Min Heejin is getting sued by them? What a great person to fuck up your career for! At this point in the game, if New Jeans did a live stream stepping on one his face, Bunnies would find a way to justify it and even blame Hype for it, since that's all they do. It's incredibly naive of you to think that, after everything, these girls are pure little angels incapable of doing anything wrong, because, honestly, we have all the necessary reasons to don't believe them. But I'll delve deeper into that in the next topic. The behavior of the Bunnies towards anyone who tries to point out or criticize New Jeans' actions so far is strangely overly defensive and even manipulative in a way. These people go so far with gaslighting that just dreaming of pointing out mistakes that New Jeans made is enough for them to make us feel guilty for being born and label us Hype stans. And, as I've already said that in another video, no, we are in Hype stans. We all hate this company as much as you do. But shifting our responsibility away from New Jeans and onto Hype is much easier because it's convenient to blame the company for everything while you refuse to believe that your faves are guilty in any way. This is manipulation. This is playing the victim. You're taking advantage of the fact that this industry is rotten to justify the unjustifiable, to make people believe that the slightest mention that New Jeans is wrong is to support a abuse and exploratory system, when it's not. Questioning them isn't about being a company stand, but about fucking suspecting of people who accused 1 billion people for 1 billion reasons but couldn't prove any of them. And now, defending Min Heejin is, in itself, enough grounds to say that these girls are, at the very least, questionable in their intentions. But I wish they were all. Constant lies and changing stories, accusing her of mistreatment and 800 other things without having concrete evidence of any of them, and so on. Baseless and unfounded accusations aren't enough to win a legal battle if you didn't know it, and it serves them right for losing it. Maybe this way they understand that justice isn't a game and it won't tolerate their tantrums. Illit and the Seraphim couldn't probably even sleep peacefully because of this woman, and yet New Jeans defended her and fucked up their careers for her sake, doing her dirty work. Yeah, this time is real bad business. Now, why we actually don't believe New Jeans, and with we, I mean people with functional brains. They lied several times, their claims are inconsistent, they defend a woman who did all the shit I already said in the last topic, and they accuse her of everything that is possible in the world without proof. All of that because of what exactly? Because things didn't go their way? Because their precious groomer CEO who sexually assaulted someone is in danger? They want to defend their own interests, standing up for themselves, even if standing up for themselves means throwing people who did nothing to you under the bus so you could be the poor victim because you don't have proofs for anything you're stating. So you need to find a way to people to believe you? What was that whole "I was ignored by Illit" thing for? What the hell was the intention behind that? What the hell did they think was going to happen? No way y'all are this dumb. They knew what they were doing. The poor staff paid for something they didn't do, and at that time, this generated even more hate towards Illit. Even though the CCTV footage shows them bowing fucking 90 degrees to New Jeans, they intentionally threw Illit under the fucking bus so they could get what they want, and still, people treat them as innocent victims. Crying at the National Assembly, playing the victim card, and pretending to be a poor mistreated employee under an exploitative company without any proof of it is fucking manipulation, and people fell for it, and keep falling for it, over and over again. Now, last but not least, the final topic of this video. Fucking finally, I'm so tired. I've been noticing a pattern in the Bunnies' behavior for a while now. They lack concrete arguments to support their narratives, so what do? Simple. They use other cases involving other idols and groups to strengthen their narrative, even if those cases have nothing to do with the issue. I'll firstly talk about TXT's Yeonjun and a recent case of plagiarism involving him. A few months ago, Sunghoon from Hypen announced a new merchandise, a figure that, well, looked exactly like Yeonjun's Gamjuni, which is his figure from his first mixtape released on September of 2024, Gum. The similarities were obvious. The model was basically the same. The hoodie, the facial expression, the features, the pose, literally everything. It looked like a color. I have my doubts that this was entirely Belief's responsibility, since it's hard for me to believe that Sunghoon had no say in his own merchandise, but we don't have sure of anything. The fact is, no credit was given to Yeonjun, and the artist responsible for creating the figure model publicly expressed dissatisfaction on Twitter and liked comments of people who were pointing this out. By the way, it was an independent artist. Photos of Gamjuni and even Yeonjun himself with a keychain on his waist were seen on the table as a reference in the video of the creation process of this merch, and yet no credit was given. It's not right to direct hate towards the artist in this case, but pretending that it's all just a coincidence is plain dumb. Here's the thing, Enhypen is from the same subsidiary as Illit, Belief Lab, and when all of this blew up, I think you've already connected the dots. Bunnies entered the discussion, claiming that this case proved that Illitt's plagiarism was real because the same subsidiary was involved in a copying case again. The point is, this specific case, being plagiarism, doesn't automatically make the other one true. I'm not going to go into that topic again. I already discussed it in detail at the beginning of the video. But once it's been proved in court that there was no plagiarism, the conversation is over. There is no reason to keep talking about this, and taking advantage of other distant cases to benefit oneself is dishonest and a cheap strategy. Next point. If I had a coin for every time Bunnies used something related to TXT to defend New Jeans or Min Heejin in some way, I would have 2 coins, which is not much, but it's pretty hilarious that happened twice. Recently, about 2 months ago, Subin and Taehyun went viral after speaking up on a live stream on Weverse about being physically abused by staffs during their trainee days. Yes, they were literally hit. And what do you think Bunnies did? If you said, use this as a quote-unquote proof that New Jeans were mistreated because two members of TXT were, you're correct. Basically, Bunnies don't seem to know what a subsidiary is. So, I'll explain. A subsidiary is basically a smaller secondary company that is within a much larger conglomerate. Hype isn't a company, but a label, with several smaller companies under them, like Platis, Big Hit, Believed, and so on. The fact that Big Hit and Adore are subsidiaries of the same conglomerate does not make them the same company, and what happened in one has no bearing in what happened in the other. The Subin and Taehyun incident happened a long time ago, back when Hype wasn't even called his name yet. Subin made it clear that current Korea laws no longer allow this type of thing to happen. This case happened at least 8 years ago. Adore was created in 2022. And as if things couldn't get worse, Bunnies even claimed that people believe in Subin but not Honey when she alleged mistreatment was misogyny because Subin is a man and Eugene is a woman. Are you fucking kidding me? Are you really turning this into a gender issue? We believe Subin because he has absolutely no reason to lie. He's a completely unproblematic idol, and it's not the first time he says things like that fearlessly. Meanwhile, Honey lied several times in court. We have countless reasons to not trust this girl. And yet, Bunnies managed to turn this into a gender war. And don't even get me started on how disrespectful that comparison of traumas is. Subin was talk about their trauma, their problems, and to use this as yet another piece in your selfish victim narrative is tone deaf, to say the least. Please have at least a little bit of common sense. But wait, it gets worse. Do you know which other group managed to get involved in this? That's right, Luna. Because basically, they were saying things like, why did y'all believe Luna then? How can you support them and believe their mistreatment issue, but not New Jeans one? Well, maybe because they fucking had proof? Chu was unfairly kicked out of the group, and after that, all the other 11 members of the group sued BBC to annul the contracts, and they won. They were fucking paid. You know, they basically worked for free. They were indeed mistreated, and yet you're making this be about New Jeans. Everything is always about New Jeans. Can you just shut the fuck up and stop trying to make everything be about them? The world doesn't revolve around them. Holy shit! Well, after this fucking ass long video, I think we can say that I covered pretty much everything I wanted to. After all this, I would really like you to reflect on the situation and analyze whether it's truly worth putting your hand in the fire for people who aren't as innocent as they seem. Overall, that's it. I hope you liked it. Don't forget to like and subscribe because this really helps me a lot. And see you next video. Bye bye!